Your topic is the long-term sustainability of open source projects, understanding the customer's perspective, which ensures that a project can survive over time, right?
Yeah. Okay, I think it's... So, I am the last talk before the lunch. I will be very quickly because we are just in late, but don't worry. I'd like to have a different point of view because I'm not a tech guy and I am the offering lead of RIOS. So, I generally try to see the open source market by the eyes of the customer. And so, the good news is that there is not too important to have just money for an open source project, but there is a lot of other factor very important to have open source project, success open source project. We have, for example, of a very consolidated project that have changed their way to stay on the market. They deny open source, if we can say in this way, but the market that didn't recognize the value, the money they have, but just change the product with the other product coming from that. So the forks of this solution become very more important in a few time by the change that these software games. So, sorry. So, founding alone didn't decide the winner, but the business did. And the business is not just money, but is the way that the company make value and impact on the market. For public sector, we have two kinds of business. The first one is related to the citizen platform that the public administration have to publish for the customer. And the second one is the tool that the civil servant have to use every day. We can think about collaboration, platform, email, file sharing, and so on. For private enterprise, the business is how to, the platform that companies use to generate business will serve, but always the tool they use to have fast move on the market. So, for example, the CI/CD pipeline, DevOps, cloud adoption, and so on. And so, why the open source is the right answer to the business of this kind of organization? Because you have the certainty. You have the certainty of some important point of the business you used. You have legal certainty, you have strategic independence, you have asset protection. I think this is one of the main important points of the open source. If you build on your own product based on open source software, you need to have the assurance that you have protection of your business. You cannot depend have business software that depend by other solution, by decision that it's not on your own control. Obviously, it's very important and cost-centerly, and by all this point, you can have a measurable value. So, the other important point of this conference is we have seen 2 days of this open source has never been in a stronger position. Today, we will have the document related to EU community about the value of open source. But this is a very good point for us that work with open source since a lot of years, but this is a challenge too. The very thing we have to have in our mind during this changing, this very important changing, that we have to change our customer base. We are used to work with adopters that are used to use open source, so they are willing to tinker. They can tolerate friction. They can accept to have self-serve support in some critical moment, and they are able to use forum or mail list, and they maybe are able to configure, compile, and patches the solution they choose. But now we have to become mainstream. We have to, because the world is changing, the geopolitical solution is asking to open source to give a more answer than the one we did. And so we have to become mainstream. Become mainstream needs to be more enterprise, to have customers that need to have expect Polish interface, zero friction on board, integrate experience, and mobile first, multi-device, and they need to have security by design. And the regulatory assessment we have in front of us goes in this direction, and we have to win this match. So we will find this kind of barriers in our fight to put open source in every company. We have to help customers to have a different complexity. So they think that open source is too complex. They think the lack of enterprise support, it's a problem. And really it is for the company that have not the IT department so structured as the one we know. They have maybe not risk aversion because they have their own risk that is related to his business model, and they cannot to sustain the risk come from infrastructure, or software or solution. We have to be we have to be partner for the market and not challenging for them. And so maybe we have to work to have a more easy way to allow them to purchase and buy open source. So maybe we have to work in two different paths. The first one is design open source software and open source project for business, for customers. And the second one is support the customer in the open source shoes. So the first is it's pretty simple, maybe, because we have to involve in a more concrete and in an early stage phase the customers on the software projection, the open source project. So we have a big community of customers. So please use it. Don't do the mistake that enterprise company have to do or proprietary company have to do. We have a lot of people that want to use open source, and we have to allow them to be involved in the orchestration and creation of an open source project. So we have to have good eyes to usability interface. I think that maybe the very strong mission of open source right now is to change interface and to create a more usable interface, because the software open source runs very well, we know that, but maybe the interface is not the best interface we can have on the market. Obviously, it could be interesting to simplify the purchase procurement, but we have a lot of change in our historical moment. So I think that simplify procurement, invest in OSPO, to see CRA as a catalyst of a big open source changement, it could be. And how we can to change the customer process? I think the answer is in this event very clear, because and we spoke about that yesterday in a breaking room about OSPO, because open source is everywhere, but if a customer starts to work with open source, it's not so easy to create a link between all these elements that are in the base of open source. So we have to think about how to integrate software, how to guarantee the security, how to create business model, how to governance the open source project, how to support, and if the software I choose will be durable or not. Generally, there is a IP license and community to evaluate too. The answer is OSPO, obviously. It's to create an open source program office in the company, or to choose to have an OSPO as a service, just to create the link between all these elements that are not so easy to manage. We know we work with open source from a lot of years, and sometimes we have some problem to orchestrate all these elements. We have to put in the foot of the new customer of open source that have no idea about all these elements. So we need to help them to do that. I think that open source has a new audience. Their business is our sustainability. So we have to work on it. Thank you.